Alright, hello everybody, it's me, your boy Wolfborg. It's been a while since I made a video, and I got a new mic now. It's been a while. Now, I'm here just to do a very quick video talking about some of the stuff that I talked about on Twitter last night through to this morning. I kept getting notifications at like 5 a.m. over this fucking thing. I did one of these anime tier lists, and this was my anime list, top 50 most popular anime tier lists, and some people had some interesting things to discuss on Twitter about some of the things that I picked. So I decided to just do a kind of rambling video where I just kind of go over them point by point. Because most of this stuff I already explained on Twitter, but I'm tired of having to fucking repeat myself to 20 people who don't see my answers already. So I'm just going to do this video and I could just link it to them anytime they ask the same shit over and over. Alright, let's get the easy ones out of the way, okay? JoJo is not on here strictly because the guy who made this list did not put it on here. I'm pretty sure that this list was made a while ago. I don't know when, but there's only 2 seasons of My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan on here. So I don't know when this was made. Mob Psycho's not even on here. So I don't know. This was made whenever. This is the only top My Anime list one that I could find on here right now. So I did this one. So there's no JoJo, there's no Mob Psycho. So if your favorite show is not on this list, it's probably because I have not seen it. I put all of the 50 of them on this list. There is no leftovers. This is all of them. This is all of them. So if your show is not on here, maybe I've watched it, maybe I haven't. To answer some of the ones that I got most often, JoJo I have not seen all of. I've only watched the first couple episodes of part 1. So I didn't hate it. I just kind of haven't gotten to watch more of it yet. So I can't really give an opinion on it. But that being said, the first couple episodes, I thought were kind of interesting. Definitely feel like I need to watch more. And I have a whole bunch of people telling me, you don't have to start with 1. You could start with the part whatever. And I don't really want to do it like that when I do get into it. I just want to go from part 1, go through all the parts. So that was one of the most common ones. Mob Psycho's not. I fucking love Mob Psycho. I've seen all of season 1 and 2 of Mob Psycho, and I love Mob Psycho. It's not on here just because the guy who made the list probably made it before it came out. I don't know. It's not on the list because the guy didn't put it on the list. It's not my fault. Can't do anything about it. Other easy thing to tackle. Some people pointed out Durarara shouldn't be C tier, and that's right. That was an accident. I don't know how that happened. I didn't mean for it. It's A tier, 100% A tier. No question about it. It does not belong in C tier. I don't remember what happened to put it there. I didn't mean to. That was my bad. All right, now let's dive into some of the harder ones. Let's start off. Well, Konosuba's at the top. Let's start with Konosuba. I had a couple of people say that Konosuba does not deserve to be an S tier, and I'm thinking, okay, well maybe they just weren't into it or whatever. What are the reasons? The people that said it shouldn't be in there literally said, you put a fucking isekai in S tier? You put a fucking isekai in S tier? Bruh, fucking isekai? And I really didn't know if they were trolling at first or not, or if they even bothered watching it or whatever. First of all, people that hate isekais, generally they hate isekais because it becomes a genre that they hate, which 90% of the time is harem. Just say you hate harems. That's fine. I don't have a problem if you hate harems. You can't just use isekai as a catch-all for why a show is shit. If you were going to say there's no reason for it to be in another world, okay, that's fine. Nobody's saying that about this. Nobody's saying that about Konosuba. If you didn't like the comedy of it, well, alright, then that's fine. You can't just hate it just because it's solely an isekai. And then I had somebody else say that I should swap it with Death Note, which I'll get into why I put Death Note in B in a second here, but their reasoning was Death Note had a way more well-rounded story, and that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter for Konosuba. First of all, these are 2 entirely different shows. You can't even really compare them that much. It's really hard to compare them. Keep in mind, when you do these tier lists, or at least when I do these tier lists, I put a show in a tier solely based on the show itself, not in comparison to the other shows most of the time. Usually if I think a show is particularly worse than some others that are in the tier, Maybe I'll put it in the row below it, or add a row if I feel it's appropriate or whatever. Which we'll get into that with some other ones later. Like, if I'm just comparing Konosuba by itself, that's fucking awesome. If you want to try to compare it to some other stuff, well, you gotta find some solid things to compare it with. And the person said that Death Note had a way more well-rounded story. I don't disagree that it had a well-rounded story. I don't disagree that its story is more well-rounded than Konosuba's. But that's because Konosuba doesn't need a well-rounded story. It is a comedy. It is a parody of isekai. It is a whole bunch of little gag jokes. It is a comedy through and through. Like, Death Note is a crime drama. You need a well-rounded story for that. If you don't have a well-rounded story, you have a shit show. You have a terrible show. Whereas a comedy does not need a well-rounded story. It needs little stories that can help them deliver punchlines. There's like a whole genre of shows where they don't have an overarching story. It's called slice of life. It's a whole genre. Like, you don't need to have an overarching, well-rounded story to make a show good. You can have a lot of good shows that don't have any story to it. You can just like a show purely for some of the character developments or character interactions or how well its comedy was if it's a comedy show or how intricate its sci-fi concepts it explores were. Or maybe you just think its visuals are phenomenal. There are a number of different reasons why you can think a show is S tier. There are a number of reasons why you can think a show is amazing without having a decent story. There are plenty of shows that are really good that don't have a really good story. This idea that you can compare Konosuba to Death Note is really... I don't really get it. I don't see how that works. Now, related to that, people were discussing about Death Note itself. They felt it deserved to be much higher. I disagree, and a lot of the people I talked to conceded that they agreed with me, essentially, when I pointed out that that show went to shit after L died. Spoilers, L fucking dies. It's been out for how long? It's your fault if you haven't watched it yet. Like, everybody fucking knows about that shit. After L dies in that show, it goes to shit. Like, you just want it to be done. It overstayed its welcome. Not to the point where it became garbage, just to the point where it became, okay. Like, okay. The beginning was really solid, more interesting things going on with it, you know, and then the ending part was kind of, you know, so that's why I gave it a B. Now, if you like to ignore the idea that that whole last arc happened, I mean, that's your choice. If you want to rate it higher just based on the first part, that's your choice. I don't want to just do that because, you know, that's not the whole show. So I put it in that or whatever. Oh, yeah. The other easy thing to point out about this list, some people didn't notice, there are multiple entries for different seasons of certain shows. Like, there's 2 seasons of My Hero Academia, there's 2 seasons of Attack on Titan. So I graded them solely based on that season itself, like, not based on the show itself. So, for example, I have season 1 of My Hero Academia in A tier, because I thought it was peak of the show. I thought it was pretty fucking cool. This, I believe, is season 2. That's pretty much. Season 2 and 3 were kind of anime. Season 1 felt like it was peak. Like, it kind of feels like there's so much I wanted them to be able to do with what they set up in season 1, and then they just kind of didn't. They just kind of didn't. Like, the villain of season 2 I thought was awesome. Stain, I thought he was awesome. But then in season 3, when there's all these villains that supposedly come up because of Stain's work or whatever, I didn't really feel like they actually gave a shit about him. It didn't feel like he actually had that impact. I'm surprised Stain even had that much. It didn't feel like he should have had that much of an impact or whatever. He was a cool villain that I felt like they should have done a lot more with to hype up his, you know, his demise and the whole big thing with it. I felt like they didn't build his stuff up enough in the season for me to really care. And then when he did die, and then all these people were coming up saying that they were inspired by the work he was doing, killing heroes, I just felt like it was kind of much. It was kind of much for this villain that I didn't really feel they did enough with. Now, I don't know anything about the manga for My Hero Academia. I don't read the manga for My Hero Academia. Maybe I should. A lot of these shows, or especially shounens that I tend to not like or whatever, they tend to, I'm told at least, they tend to be really good in the manga. And the animes are kind of whatever. That's what I hear. I hear that a lot about One Piece. I hear that a lot about The Promised Neverland. The Promised Neverland's not on here. One Piece is. under refuse to watch, just because I've heard so many horror stories about the anime and it's so long that I just don't want to bother with the anime. My brother had me start the manga recently. I really enjoyed the manga, so I think I'd rather stick with that. I watched a couple episodes of the anime. I was like, I'm just going to stick with the manga, so that's what I'd rather do. All right, now we're getting lower. We're getting to the lower tiers. This is where the real hot takes start to happen, because this is me shitting on some people's favorite stuff, apparently. Let's talk about the F tiers, okay? We have Death Parade, and we have Erased. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised there were so many strong fans of Death Parade. I didn't think this show really had... Like, I didn't watch it when it aired. I watched it later or whatever, and this was a while ago when I watched it. And the first episode, at least the first episode, had me hooked. I was like, this is an amazing premise. This is really cool, and this first episode has me hooked for what the show is going to be. Because the whole idea is, Death Parade is about when you die, you go into this like afterlife bar where these guys that are like the bartenders have you play these kind of psychological related games. They're like related to your life or your emotions or something like that. They're supposed to help to judge where you will go in the afterlife. You know, whether you would go to a good place or a bad place, that kind of stuff. And it would help you deal with some of the emotional and thematical stuff that the characters were going through before they pass on into the afterlife completely. So it's kind of like a nice little purgatory kind of psychological game show where I was really interested in that. And I think they did that for the first couple episodes, but then they weaned off focusing on that, and they more focused on the whole story with the new assistant they brought in. And I it's been a while since I watched it, but I think they tried to do some whole story with that show, and I just felt like saying, stop, we don't need this. We don't... The story that they were doing was one that was I was pretty sure it was like they were trying to stop the whole system. They were trying to do something else or whatever. I forget fully what it was, but whatever the story was, it wasn't interesting enough for me to even remember it. I'm pretty sure it was just really... Like, I can go into more depth with why I really don't like these shows if I were to go through or rewatch them again, now that I'm more experienced with critically explaining why I do and don't like some stuff. But I just don't know. Like, this show felt... The story that it tried to force on you seemed pretty generic, and I didn't care for it. Whereas the initial premise, that's what I feel like. I feel like people are in love with the premise of this show more than the show itself. Because most of the time when I point out to some of the people on Twitter how the premise was way cooler than what the actual show became, they usually conceded to me. They were usually just like, yeah, okay, I see your point. Yeah. So I don't get it. I did not know there was that many fans of Death Parade. I will give Death Parade this, though. I will give Death Parade... Its premise is amazing to me, really interesting me. And I will give it that its opening, and I think its ending song, I forget if it was his ending song too. Whatever songs they have that are done by Bradio, those songs are amazing. I love those songs. I listen to that thing. I think that's in one of my anime playlists that I listen to on stream and stuff like that. Really good. I love it. Now, you might be thinking, but Wolfborg, it's a show. It needs something driving the story of this place or whatever. We need something for... You don't. You really don't. As I've said before, as I said earlier, you can have a show that doesn't need a whole series arcing story. You can have like maybe you can have like a little series arcing kind of idea. Like Konosuba, the idea is they're in the other world and they can't leave it until they kill the demon lord or whatever. But that's not the main point of the show. They aren't going out of their way just to hunt the demon lord or whatever the whole time they're there. They're just hanging out. That's kind of like a second thought to them or whatever. And I think at one point they even freak out at the idea of the realization that, wait a minute, we're not actually doing anything about getting out of here. You know, they're freaking out about it. And Death Parade could have benefited from becoming one of those type of shows. One of those type of shows that only focused on, you know, little episodic thematical views, emotional views, interesting games, you know? Kakegurui was a show that had really interesting games and not really anything for story in the first season. The second season had a more interesting story arc to me of Kakegurui that I really enjoyed. There was a whole like election arc, really much more interesting to me. It was less games just for game's sake and more had a plausible reason for the games to happen. Whereas Death Parade just said, ignore the games. The games don't matter. We're going to focus purely on the story. And at a certain point, when you have a cool premise that's based on these like games, you should stick with it. You should stick with it. Like, don't wean off them. Keep going with it. And I felt like it just weaned off it, and it just said, you know what? Ignore that. We want to do the story that a million times has been told. Nothing really new about it. Talk more about, journeying through what this place truly is, like that kind of stuff. Nobody cares. Nobody got hooked on the show for that. People got hooked on the show because it was a psychological, like, game thing. We want to be more into that. That's what we want. Or that's what I want, at least. And that's why I think Death Parade is shit. Moving on to the next hot topic. The next shitter. Erased. Yeah, that's right. I fucking hate Erased. Now, as some people have noted, Wolfborg, why the fuck did you say Sword Art Online is better than Erased? Why the fuck would you ever say that? I just want to let you guys know, I don't like Sword Online. I fucking hate Sword Art Online. So I hope that really instills in you guys how much I don't like Death Parade and Erased. I felt Sword Art Online did more, or at least tried to do more, than either of these shows to interest me. Now, that's not to say that Sword Art Online or Gun Gale Online or whatever were good shows. I'm not saying that at all, because they're not. What I'm saying is they introduced more interesting concepts and had way more memorable fucking things going on than Erased ever did. I don't know about you guys. I haven't watched it that long ago, but I don't remember anything about, like, any of the characters of Erased, really. I don't remember a lot about the show Erased. I remember when I watched it, I fucking hated it. First of all, the one thing I do remember, and somebody pointed out, it's got a unique story, interesting characters, and a surprise ending. I full stop at the part about surprise ending. That villain was one of the most obvious villains. And this is supposed to be, okay, for the people who don't know anything about Erased, it is supposed to be this guy, I think he's like an adult now or whatever. He suddenly discovers that he's able to go back in time to when he was a kid in, like, elementary school, back when he remembered some kids going missing, and he when he's back there, he tries to figure out what happened with those kids that went missing and try to save them. So it's supposed to be like a time travel kind of mystery thing going on, where he has the knowledge of the future, and he's mentally an adult, but now he's going into the past to try to fix things, see if he can change the future, Okay, that's fine. That premise, interesting itself. Maybe. Maybe they could do some more stuff with it. They don't do more with it, is the problem. First of all, one of my biggest things. Why make it a time travel thing? Why even make it a time travel thing if you're not really going to do anything with it? The show probably could have done more interesting stuff, to me, if it was just it never showed the guy being from the future. They probably could have had more opportunities to make the show more interesting to me if it was just always set when he was in elementary school. If we were just following this character of this kid in elementary school as, these kids are going missing, this other girl's getting abused or whatever. If you're just in the footsteps of the actual kid while this is happening to other kids with a kid who is experiencing this for the first time or whatever and trying to figure out what's going on and stop it or whatever, maybe that could be more interesting. Maybe that could have more interesting stuff going on. But because he's from the future, it kind of lessens it. It kind of lessens the tension and the mystery of it. Like, there's a girl that dies or whatever, or goes missing or something like that. And, like, you already know that it happens. And he knows that it happens. That's the most important thing. Because you can have a show that does a little flash forward showing that, this girl goes missing at this date, or we don't know where she went. And then you go back and you tell the story from the beginning. That stuff can work fine. The problem is the fact that he knows that it happens, too. He knows that it happens. And that lessens the tension. We're following around and it lessens the tension. Now you might think, oh no, it increases the tension because he knows there's a kidnapper or a killer or something out there, or abuser out there, and he's coming for the kids. Now you're in the body of this kid who knows that it's coming and it could get him now that he's back there or whatever. It doesn't really, because first of all, the villain is really fucking obvious. I don't know. This is a little spoilers if you actually give a shit about watching Erased. The villain, and you'll get this immediately after you watch like the first couple episodes, you only ever see the guy in very dark settings where he looks sketchy as shit. You only ever see him. And then like at one point, like a whole bunch of candies fall out of the glove compartment of his car. And the main character's like, oh, why do you have all these lollipops in here? That's a little suspicious, my guy. And the guy's like, oh no, I just, I quit smoking. And he puts the lollipop in his mouth. I quit smoking. This is how I deal with it or whatever. Yeah, we all buy that. This is totally not. Oh, and then some people will be like, oh no, but that was just a little hint that maybe it could be, maybe it's a red herring, but it wasn't a red herring. So what's the point? Why did that scene happen? I don't. Erased, I kind of feel like I should rewatch it just to go in depth with why I don't really like it. But I also feel like there's a bunch of people online who have probably already complained about Erased, and I don't feel like I really need to. To me, Erased just felt like crybait. It just felt like Tumblr crybait, and nothing really more to it. And that's fine. If you people are into that, that's fine. I'm not into that. So that's why I put that in F. That's why I think Erased is shit. That's why I hate probably your favorite anime. Speaking of the D tier, Attack on Titan. Now, okay, first of all, just before I go into this is season 1. This is season, I think, 2 of Attack on Titan. So now, bear that in mind. I watched all of season 1. I watched all of season 1 and the first couple episodes of season 2. I refuse to watch it now. Now I'll get into this. Now I know a lot of you guys who were replying to me were saying, why the fuck would you ever put it on D? Are you dumb? Why would you refuse to watch season 2? Are you dumb? What's wrong with you? Okay, here's why I put it in D and refuse to watch more of it. Okay. The first couple episodes really interested me. I think it was like the first 3 or 4. The ones before the flash forward. There's like a flash forward to 5 years later. And after that, I kind of roll my eyes glaze over. I don't really care about it anymore. And I'll explain. So the first couple episodes interested me because we're following the viewpoint of this kid during the attack of these giant titans. And it's really fucking morbid and fucking him up. And he wants revenge because he sees this thing happening. So he enlists in the army and we see, the training of that. That's all fine. That's all fine. We're seeing, the guy has a reason to want to join up to fight these things because he's seen really horrific stuff and he wants to fight them back. That's cool. I'm into that. And then the flash forward to 5 years happens. But after the 5 years skip, there was like some interesting things that happened. Like, I think a dude got bitten in half or whatever. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. There's some other stuff going on. And then they're like, oh, some people are actually Titans too. And we're adding this whole mystery element to what the Titans actually are and stuff. I just kind of lost interest towards the point when it was just, let's just do these tactical plannings of regular battles against the Titans or whatever. I just didn't really care. Like, it lost my interest. And after season 1 ended, and I thought season 1 ended really whatever. Like, I thought, it was I thought it was I was like, I don't really see why the show is so hyped up now. But at the time when it was airing, which I believe I started watching it towards when it was close to finishing the first season, it was hyped up everywhere on Tumblr, which is, what I attributed everybody loving the show while it was airing to, because everybody loved it on Tumblr, which is fine. While it's airing, that's fine. This is years later, season 1's done, and I come out and say season 1 was only good in the first few episodes, the rest was meh. And I didn't care to watch the rest. And people are very upset. And I don't really see why myself. I had one person say that the first 2 seasons of Attack on Titan are purposely shit. And that I have to keep watching until season 3 for it to be good. And that they purposely made it shit for a reason. And they didn't want to tell me because it's spoilers. I don't care. That is even if that was true, which I doubt it is, even if it was true, that is an awful, awful reason to subject yourself to that. That is an awful reason. There is one other show that I've ever seen that tried to do something like that, and I really enjoyed the show. It was SSS Gridman, and some people might not have seen this or whatever about it or whatever, but And some people might not have noticed this about it, but me and some of my friends talked about it, and it was pretty much the way I felt while watching it. A lot of people watched SSS Gridman, and they didn't care about the first few episodes because it felt very generic, very, mecha, very boring kind of mecha thing as usual. And a lot of people just aren't into mecha shows like that, or if they are into mecha shows, they thought it was whatever or whatever. There was a reason, and I almost dropped SSS Gridman because of the first few episodes as well, but I stuck it out. And it was pretty good. Towards the end, you found out all the thematical stuff that was going on, and that the first 4 episodes were actually purposely generic and bland as possible for a thematical reason. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I can't tell you why because of spoilers. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to talk about it right now. There's going to be spoilers. If you don't want to see the spoilers, I don't know, I'll put a timer up on the video right now and you can skip to it. So, we're going to talk about it now. So, the first few episodes are very generic-y, kind of bland on purpose. Because, as you find out in the end, the whole world that they're in is like supposed to be a fantasy coping world developed by this girl struggling through depression. She is literally the god of the world. And the villain is the god of the world. And she found her way to cope in real life was through mecha animes and kaiju and stuff like that. That was the theme of the show. And it was really cool the way they fully explained that theme without holding your hand through that. They showed like one frame towards the very end of the last episode where everything's done. The villain character who revealed that she was actually god of the world that they were in said, I'm going to go now back up to wherever I was from or whatever. Thank you all for your help, and I hope you guys enjoy your life or whatever. And so she goes. And then she wakes up in the real world, revealing, oh man, the god of this world, and she's a character in real life who's struggling with depression and loneliness and feeling out of place, and she really likes to dive into anime and mecha and kaiju and stuff to cope. That was like amazing to me. And the first few episodes, being generic, were to illustrate that these are the kind of shows she was into. This is what she's into doing. And then as the story goes on, it starts veering away from that. It starts doing other stuff from that. It starts, divulging into her fighting her inner self. And you're like, oh, this is very weird how it feels very different than the first few episodes. Yeah, because there's a reason. It's an orchestrated thematical reason. And that is exactly the kind of stuff that you can do. You can have the first few episodes be generic on purpose. The problem with this was it resulted in the show not really being received well by a lot of people. I think it was received fairly well. A lot of people really kept talking about it because of the 2 waifu characters. Everybody kept doing art of the 2 waifu characters, which are hot, by the way. And because the first few episodes were really generic, kind of bland or whatever, even if it's for a reason, that's not enough to keep people going. That's not enough to keep people invested with a show. That's not an excuse to a lot of people. They're saying, I don't want to have to waste my time with this for whatever. I think it's worth it, but I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't. I would not blame them for just not doing it. I would not blame them at all if they thought SSS Gridman was a terrible show from the first episode or the first couple episodes. I would not blame them. Now, if you come over here and tell me I have to watch 2 fucking seasons of awful on purpose, no. This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it, Chief. I don't care. I don't even think that the guy was right. I mean, I don't feel like watching all of Attack on Titan to find out. If you guys watch Attack on Titan, you can probably tell whether or not the first 2 seasons were actually shit on purpose. I have zero idea. I don't care to find out. I don't care. I'm not going to suffer through 2 seasons of bullshit just to get 1 season of this is what it was all for. This was all supposed to actually be this. Why didn't it just start off with that then? Why? Like, I don't blame you if you stuck with the show that long, understand that point now, and now love it like to the moon. But I just want you to understand, I'm not dealing with that bullshit. I'm not sticking to it for 2 fucking seasons just to get to the maybe good part. I'm good. I'm good on that. I've got other shows to watch. I've got a million other shows to watch. Which, by the way, apparently I really have to watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I really wanted to watch anyways. But my tweet ended up getting more traction, I guess, at like 5 a.m. Probably, I think because one of my friends commented on it, and she's got like a lot of followers, King Ani, saying that I really need to watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And I've been meaning to. It's more just I've been lazy. It's not that I haven't watched it because I don't want to. It's in my want to watch list. I want to watch it. I just haven't yet. I got other shit to do. I got other animes to watch. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Monogatari is another one that everybody was telling me I really have to watch. I know I do. It's there. Don't worry. I'll get to it. I never really watched Monogatari yet because for the longest time I didn't really know where to start. It felt like there was a whole bunch of Monogatari series, and I a lot of times when they make a whole bunch of them, I get intimidated where to start, to the point where I just don't really bother. I think I've also felt that way about Gintama, which I see everywhere, and that one I'm even more concerned about where to start, because literally all of the names of the different Gintama seasons are just a different punctuation mark. I don't fucking know. I have no clue. I don't feel like taking the effort a lot of time to bother looking up where I start. Maybe the first episode of Gintama is just Gintama with no punctuation mark. I don't know. I haven't really looked it up yet. That seems like a pretty big show to get into anyways, and that's the other thing. If a show is huge, I'm intimidated already to get into it, which is one of the reasons I refuse to watch One Piece as well. I know a lot of people are into One Piece. I've started the manga. The manga's pretty good. I don't feel like trying out the show because I hear horrible things about the show, and the show is really fucking long. And I hear that later on, especially to try to, keep in track with the manga, they purposely stretch out the episodes to be one chapter an episode. Fuck that. That sounds awful. I don't know how you guys deal with that. I would not. Fuck that. Fuck that. No, I'm good. Naruto. Some people also brought up, why the fuck would you put Naruto there? Most of these people were children. That aside, I watched the first few episodes of Naruto, the original Naruto, up until like the Zabuza arc. There was some stuff that I thought was cool, but overall it was whatever to me. Not really something that really stuck with me. So I stopped watching it, didn't care for it. Now it's like really long. I don't care for any of it. Was not interested in it. So now it's just in my refuse to watch thing. Which goes with Shippuden as well, because if I refuse to watch the first one, then I kind of also need to refuse to watch the second one, right? There you go. Other things. Everybody mentioned I need to watch Code Geass. Yes. I never really thought too much about watching it a lot until Anime Boston recently, where like it seemed like there was a lot more stuff related to it going on, like some cosplays and like some merchandise and stuff. So I guess I need to check it out. I'll put it in my want to watch list right here live for you guys. So that's in there now. Any other hot takes we got on here? Any other hot takes? Oh, I'm actually surprised that nobody really brought some of these things up as like hot topics. Nobody questioned Mirai Nikki being a C. I don't know if a lot of people just didn't recognize Mirai Nikki by the cover or something. I thought it was a C. I was surprised people didn't come out and scream at me, because I know a lot of people fucking hate Mirai Nikki. And I kind of do too, but not so much. I still think it's above these ones. I still think it does more stuff that really interests me more than these. But context though, Mirai Nikki was one of the first ones I ever watched that wasn't Dragon Ball or something on Toonami or something like that. It was initially very interesting to me in that it was a death game. Now at the time, I hadn't experienced an anime death game kind of show before. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is really interesting. I really like this kind of thing. And so I got really into it, and I think for a while, I think it was one of my most favorite shows growing up. Now looking back on it, retrospectively, it was not. It was kind of fucking oof. But like, I don't think it was terrible. Like, I think it was like terrible, I guess. So it's a C. I kind of felt that way about Your Lie in April as well, which is why that's also in C, which nobody else also mentioned, which I was pretty surprised about, because I know everybody fucking loved the shit out of that show. But it was for kind of similar reasons, where it's like, I liked it when I first watched it, and then I tried it out again, and I was like, actually, it's kind of meh, and now that I'm looking back into it, and I've experienced other stuff similar to it, maybe, it's kind of whatever, I guess. That's just how I felt. And I think that's it for all of my hot takes on this tier list that I posted yesterday. I posted this list on Twitter yesterday, and then I went to game night with some of my friends, and we played D&D. And then I come back at like 11, and people are like coming out of nowhere. And most of these people I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know you people. And a lot of the debates kept going on until like fucking 5 a.m. and I needed to sleep, and you fuckers kept messaging me with your fucking takes that I had to respond to for the 50th time and 5 a.m. and I hate all of you. So this is my video pretty much encapsulating my views on all of those various important topics that you guys brought up over and over and over continuously, so that I don't have to fucking repeat myself on Twitter. You want to hear my view on that thing or whatever? There you go. This is the video. This is the video. I'm going to timestamp it and everything, motherfuckers. You can have fun with this. I'm done. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for coming to hang out and trying out this kind of thing. Let me know if you're interested in more of these kind of videos where I just kind of ramble about this kind of stuff. And we'll see where it goes from there. I am still working on the next anime science video. I had most of it written out sometime after the first one, and I just kind of haven't written more of it yet. Because I got busy. I now own a anime news / review website called jotaku.net. I'll link that in the description in case you want to check it out or follow the Twitter and stuff like that. We're just trying to get it restarted. It was kind of inactive for like 2 years, and then I bought it right after the anime science video, the first one. And I want to do more anime science stuff, but then I got the site, and I got busy with that. And then I got work stuff. I was busy with that. And then I had Anime Boston and PAX East. I was busy with those. Now I'm kind of getting a little bit more free time with this kind of stuff, getting more in the groove with it. So now I can try to get back to doing that stuff. So we will do the do. Mountain Dew. Thank you so much for coming up and hanging out. And if you like this shit, support me on Patreon, where you can send me $1 to make more stuff for no reason other than you love my lovable face. You love this face, don't you? You love the man that made Rapid Tap. Some of you know about Rapid Tap. Some of you haven't been initiated yet. And to those that haven't been, I'm very sorry that you haven't been. Goodbye. Goodbye.